This episode of Capes and Lunatics is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. Get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
This is Phil Perich, and you're listening to the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
Recording has started. Hello and welcome once again to Super Connectivity. I missed my cue, but I'm still Charlie the Professor Esser, head of HR for Capes and Lunatics, and with me, as always, is the CEO Emeritus Imperatum of Capes and Lunatics in the not South Cape Media Group Network. This guy.
Phil Me and Parents, and I'm over here.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Some people go both ways.
Whoa! Yeah, I was gonna say, I'll take CEO of Capes, but don't make me CEO of Southgate Media Group. I'm gonna get assassinated by Rob South.
Yeah, don't challenge Master Doom. I know. Someday the revolution will come, Philip. Anyway, moving right along. Oh, so there's a lockdown, and all the world is a scary place right now, Philip. You may have heard.
Yeah, but as an essential worker, I'll just tell you people, stay in your homes because everything is closed anyway. I mean, I go back and forth to work. It's like there's nothing out there. There's no traffic. Nothing's open. It's like stay home. There's nothing to go out for anyway, really.
I'm glad that your town is like that because New Jersey's like that too. Like, I have a friend in Ohio who's basically like, everyone's running around. No one's wearing masks. They're all going crazy because it's Ohio.
Yeah.
Ohioans.
I believe some of our doctors around here said the curve is flattening. Pretty flat now. So
until these Ohioans.
Oh yeah.
Not you, Tyler. But other Owians are that's the problem. Is like we're only as safe as the idiots in Kentucky and Ohio and Mississippi who are just like, there's no such thing as a virus. That's just a conspiracy.
Yeah, I feel that way about a lot of things in life. It's like it seems like we're at the mercy of the not too bright. Yeah.
Yeah, just and I get
it just seems like there's not a big stigma of for being stupid anymore. When did it become socially acceptable to be stupid? That's what I want to know.
You could argue that it started in the first Bush administration. He wasn't a stupid man, but there was an the Republicans have been pushing an anti-intellectualism perspective for years, and to be fair, it came from a good place. Originally, one could argue the idea that a lot of times highly people whose knowledge comes only from books often lack an understanding of real world complications, but at a certain point, people who read books keep on getting smarter. It's like, I remember when doctors said we should put leeches on us. Now they say don't put leeches on her. What do doctors know? It's like, well, yes, they did say that, but now as time goes on, you get more books. And so when you only have one book, your knowledge is limited. And granted, you can make bad choices based on one book. But if you read 2 books and then 10 books and so on and so forth, you make better and better decisions, hopefully. Not always, but hopefully.
Charlie Esser, there are flat earthers all around the globe.
I know. It's very sad. And, it does. That's not a misnomer because you're thinking the Earth is a globe, but cool. So it's and all around the disc, there are people who know the truth. So yeah, I don't even. I always thought flat earthers were meant to. It's one of those things. It's like when you were a kid and you would see gypsies on TV, and you never really thought that there actually are real people who are Romani, and that's what gypsies are supposed to be. Because it's a cartoonish, buffoonish thing that you saw on TV, and you did not think that really represented an actual group of people. And so when I would hear about flat earthers, I always assumed it was just sort of an anti-intellectualist, Discordian belief system, where it wasn't so much that they believed in a flat earth, it was that they liked to question things. So, for example, the Man Will Never Fly organization really started not as anti-science, but was just that observation that, how do we know people walked on the moon? All we did was we had reporters sitting in a room and people came out and said, yes, we're on the moon. Here's a picture of it. And it's like, what's the equivalent of knowledge that we can have from that? And so we should always question knowledge we're given. But the Earth isn't flat.
The moon landing, the flat Earth thing, and everything. I'm always like, what would they get out of lying about it?
You're clearly in the pocket of Big Globe. Clearly in the pocket of Big Third Dimension. I don't know, Philip.
I mean, the whole flat Earth thing, I always look at it like someone made a joke about the Earth being flat, and there's certain people who are like, "Oh yeah, maybe it isn't round." And he was like, and whoever said it was like, "No, I was just kidding. No, you're right. How do we know?"
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, and it's very strange. The entire notion, and anti-vaxxers are right up there too. But it's a strange world we live in, Philip. And I don't even want to talk about that. I don't know how we got on that topic. Oh well, hey, I enjoy it as much as anything. But here's one thing I will say: the comic book industry is hurting right now, Philip. And I do want to talk about this because I do think that this is the situation that we're coming into now. Right now, Marvel has told a lot of its writers to pull them off books, pulled back production schedules.
I think now.
Yeah, all the companies are doing this, and the question that we kind of have within that is, where do we go from here, and what do we build from here? And one thing I'm thinking is, now they have all these people off here, should Marvel and DC and all the comic book companies be thinking about how do we bring it back? What do we do after this to bring everything back? And a lot of people have said, they need to do another Marvel DC crossover. But I think that it actually needs to be bigger than that. And my hope is that Marvel is already thinking in this, and DC, and that these people that have been pulled off books, they want to sort of maybe they are pulling off to have a little extra bandwidth, so they can start talking about what are we going to do when we can start selling books again. What's going to be the thing that we're going to drop into stores that's going to get everyone back.
They should do just like a massive crossover. Yeah, the Marvel DC. I mean, if Image and IDW and Dark Horse. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the idea. You can get them all together, and you start with the amalgam verse, and then it's just sort of like what we did when you had all the folded realities in the recent Marvel storyline, where we kill half the life in the universe by merging half the life in the universe. Where maybe other things are flowing in, so suddenly the amalgam verse is being intercepted by Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Transformers.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you want to make money and help everyone out, and the biggest event ever. It's like, yeah, Marvel and DC are teaming up, but hey, well, yeah, guess what? Like you said, Ninja Turtles are showing up, Transformers are showing up.
Spawn will be there.
If you read a comic book, odds are your favorite character's going to be there.
We're going to finally get Archie meets Captain America. Ooh. It's going to be great. But then the other idea is that within that you can even do a la Into the Spider-Verse, this idea of all these other versions, so that you can have, here's cartoonish Archies. Now they're going to meet the YA Archies, and and 60s Sabrina and 80s Sabrina meets 90s Sabrina. All these different versions that you can have crossing over in this same thing. And of course, what I think your big selling point in this is that you got to get the fourth wall breakers together. And even though this is my pitch, is how you know it's my pitch, is Gwenpool should lead them. Because Gwenpool's the one person who's going to know everything about all the other books. So she's going to know we have to find ambush. This is the DC universe. We need to find Ambush Bug. He's also a fourth wall breaker. He can help us get to the other side on this thing. And bringing these people together to sort of not just save one universe, but save all the universes. She can go to IDW and says, we need Pinkie Pie. And go to the My Little Ponyverse, bring Pinkie Pie in. So you get Ambush Bug, Gwenpool, Pinkie Pie. You know, well, we'll allow Gwenpool, or not Gwenpool, Deadpool and Harley Quinn to join in too. Yeah, because they'll insist.
Okay, here's a radical idea. She hasn't been a fourth wall breaker for years, but in the John Byrne era, wasn't She-Hulk kind of breaking the fourth wall a little bit?
Yeah. You see, Marvel's got. See, I know all of Marvel's fourth wall breakers. I don't know any in DC except for Ambush Bug. Are there other ones beyond Ambush
Harley
Bug?
Quinn skirts the line sometimes, but I don't think DC
yeah,
has
that's
a lot.
the thing.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, but that's the thing. So Marvel has like a bunch of them. You got Howard the Duck. You've got Gwenpool. You've got She-Hulk. You've got there was another one I was just thinking about recently. One more at Marvel, and then but they're going to go across the universes to find the ones they can bring in, the people that look out of the panel and wink at the audience and know that they're a comic book, because they're the ones that can say, I know what happened. Whatever's happening out there, there's something that's happening to the comic book universe. The comic book universes are collapsing. The comic books can't survive. We need a crossover event, and you can even be that blatant about it. Gwenpool can say, we need a crossover event. That's the only way that this is going to get fixed. And having her be this character, and it would be a great story to tell too, because you can have these fourth wall breakers who are aware that they're comic books, but also understanding that they're characters, and say, obviously we have to solve this problem, because obviously it's been put to us to solve it, because we're the only ones that can see what's going on. We're the only ones that know that there's a threat. You can even make a fun little reference to the idea, like, there's all these people who don't think anything's wrong, and they're walking around acting like everything's just normal, but it's not.
And the industry definitely needs this line, all the lines crossing over and stuff. But like, again, we need all the big ideas. I think they should enact my idea too. It's like maybe for 6 months, a year or something, take one character, big name from DC, one big name from Marvel, throw them into different universes for like a year.
Oh, well, I mean, that was the original idea. I don't think you're going to get it for a full year. Because that was the whole thing with
just
the original.
One character from each for a year.
No, but that was the original idea with Marvel and DC, that one character was going to get left in the Marvel universe and one character was going to get left in the DC universe. And then they were going to let it run for a year, with everyone trying to deal with the new status quo. And then they were going to let them all get back. But then eventually, Marvel said, you can't have one of our characters, and DC says, we don't want you having one of ours either. Who knows what you crazy DC people are going to do to our Spider-Man if we let you have
DC and Warner have like big time lawyers now. Can't they make up contracts, be like, okay, you can't have this character, engaging in this?
Well, the problem is that then it gets so stifled that there's not much you can do with it either. So, I mean, as you play it out, it stretches, it falls apart. You can't when you can have a short-term truce like this, where everyone gets together, a la Roger Rabbit, to tell one big story. But there's a reason they never did a sequel to that. It's because they couldn't get all agree to do this again. You can do it once, and you can do it for something big, and this is something big. And this is why I say, you should do this as, a $10 book with 50 different covers.
Oh, wait! If every company crossed over, you think they'd stop at 50 covers, Charlie Esser? I think Marvel itself just does 50 variant covers sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. But you can have everybody. You could even have everybody write their own book in it, that we all have to get all the books to get them all together, so we can tell the story as it goes from Marvel to DC, through Amalgam, into the IDW, over to the new universe, back over to Transformers, and we're going to see a crossover between the Transformers from Marvel and the Transformers from IDW and the Transformers from this other group. And you're going to have all these different across these universe expansions of these stories as characters walk in and out briefly into other stories to create something. And the big thing they have to do is they have to have this be direct at comic shops only, with no digital codes. So the only way you can go, you've got to go into the comic shop. You can get it pulled for you, obviously, but you got to go into the comic shop, plop down your 4 bits, and get your book to read the story, because you got to get people back into the book, back into the stores, because that is what they need to save the stores. Because as much as everyone says, "Oh, you can just do it all digitally,"
that's not the point.
You lose the culture. You're going to lose everything that makes comic books great if you let it just be digital. And I'm not saying that you can't have digital books. Digital comics are a great medium,
but
there's something about exactly, because you're not going to have the socialization that you're going to have at a comic book shop. Because what you get at a comic book shop is you know what you get at comic book shops? Marvel and DC fans standing next to each other talking. Not necessarily friendly conversations, usually not, I'll be honest, but at least they talk. And if you just have digital, all you're going to have is cyberbullying, chat rooms at best.
I was going to say the personal interaction, you're going to be a little more friendlier than online interaction too.
Well, yeah, and also what it'll be is like, so if you had a DC chat room, or if you had a Marvel chat room, all the Marvel guys are going to kick the DC guy out just because he says, well, actually Superman is this and that. And they're not going to tolerate it online because people can't tolerate ideas that fly in the face of what they believe online. It's supposed to bring us together, people, not tear us apart. And yet, what does it do? It tears us apart. So that's why a print-only book, as much as I love my Marvel digital codes, print only, so that we are going back to the stories, because we got to get people back to the stories. That's the point. And that's what I want to see. That's what I would like. And like I said, I mean, you can do a lot of things with it. I mean, you don't have to have Gwenpool, but I think she's a perfect character to put at the center of the story, expressly because she is someone who knows other, and we can actually expand this into her canon. That I actually do know DC comics too, and I know IDW comics, and I know this, and in fact, what would be really cool, this is what would be cool about it, is if they call out that actually I'm more of a Marvel girl, but then once she sets foot into the DC universe, it's like, I know everything about DC Comics now, because now I'm a DC Comics character who knows everything about comics. And all of a sudden her powers change because now she's in a different book. And then every time she goes into a new comic book dimension, she gains all the knowledge and lore of that dimension, or at least the appropriate knowledge and lore that a character who was a nerd like her, or a comic aficionado, if you will, of that universe would have. And that would be awesome. That would be a great way to explore that character and have her play out as she's walking through, this entire comics universe. I just think that would be just a great story to tell, and it would be really interesting, and the most important thing, like I said, is getting people back to buy books, because if the comic shops can't stay open, let's be honest, we are going to lose a few in this. Especially if you're a comic shop that's way out and doesn't have as strong of a base that you would like. It's the late 90s all over again, except this time it wasn't any speculative boom. It's just this world we're in, This is where, these are the people that need that small business administration loans. And I get the feeling they're not going to be getting them, because they're going to give them. And
Disney, Marvel, I know you're going to Disney, Warner, I know you're going to survive, but I mean, you're going to lose a big fan base if all these stores go in.
Oh, exactly. And the thing is, I think that Marvel and Disney and Warner's know that. I don't think, as much as people think that people want to say that Warner's and Disney don't care about the books, I think they care.
Oh, I think if they didn't realize, if they didn't care, if they didn't realize about the stores, they just would have went digital and said, screw the stores.
Exactly. No, they know. They know that there's a synergy brought to these companies because it's not the same for Warner's, but it is on some level for AT&T. AT&T bought these products because they knew what they were. And they didn't, they bought DC because even though any way you want to slice it, maybe comic books aren't the profit centers that they should be. Maybe the movies don't make as much money as they arguably could, That's always been people always think, oh, how can you say DC movies are a flop when they're making as much as any film? And it's like, because they could make so much more, because the characters are so much more iconic. So AT&T knows that. AT&T knows the value of having a Superman. They just got to figure out how to unlock it. It's like it's a treasure in a box, and they can't get the box open. And that's what hopefully they will do. And they thought Bendis could do it. I don't know. Maybe Bendis is doing it. I don't read the books that much.
But again, not only
fingers
the
crossed.
Inspiration for the movies and any TV or whatever too, but it's like, just look at the merchandise. They pull so many images, Marvel and DC, from the actual comics to put on merchandise. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, exactly, because it is all. I don't know if Robert Howard's estate, gets much on those Conan cover drawings, but dang. You could eat for a week on that kind of stuff, just how many Conan t-shirts get sold out there that are based off of old Conan comics and old Conan pulp covers, just the entire idea of what is out there, and getting a culture that makes it cool. Because that's the thing about these characters. What makes them marketable is that there is a culture that can give an imperator of importance to them, that can say Wolverine is cooler than say Badger, or that Badger is only cool if you're really really indie.
I just mean, they're not selling as many comics as they used to, but I think superheroes are in more mediums than they've ever been before. You have more movies and TV shows than ever before. You got more merchandise than ever before. They're in video games, cartoons.
And again, comic books maybe don't sell as much, but they sell, and they are constantly making new stories. That's the thing. It is, it has been said, they're the comic books are in their own way the farm leagues for the film industry right now. Because if you can make a good story in a comic, it can get adapted into a great film, and it can make. And even
just the comics too. You're getting more than one bite at the apple. Back in the day, like in the newsstands and stuff, it's like they put it out once and it'd be gone. Now you're doing like second printings, third printings, graphic, trade paperback. You're getting more than one bite at the apple too.
Yeah, and when something sells, it sells, and it becomes a hit, and you make money off of it, and you get all of the weight and strength of these stories, that you can then take into other mediums. You get new characters that address new target audiences that you never had before. If all you had was Marvel in the 80s, it's a lot of great characters, but you don't have the new Ms. Marvel. You don't have any of the more interesting backstories in secondary characters that you now have. Heck, if you just had Marvel in the 80s, you don't even get a Gray Hulk. You don't get a Marlowe.
Oh, yeah, Marlowe.
Joe Fixit and Marlowe. That was early 90s, right? That was after the 80s, I think.
Late 80s,
maybe
early
very
90s,
late 80s.
yeah.
Yeah, well then, if you get it in 1984, you lose all that. So I'll fix it. And that's the thing, is there's always so much great stories in these comics, and they need to survive and they need to grow. And I think the only way they're going to do it is if Marvel and DC and all the other companies come together for this big moment. But anyway, that's my hope. Let's get into something a little more concrete. Crazy fan theories about the X-Men.
Yeah.
Unless you want to talk more about this hypothetical.
That's fine. I was going to say, okay. What else we forgot was Batman's religious, but we'll get that after X-Men.
Yeah. Look at that. That's a real short one, because there isn't much to say about it except that you want to just say Oiga Vault. But looking at it's a theory that's out there right now, which is that all of the X-Men that we're seeing right now
Yeah.
aren't the X-Men. They're all plants, literally. They are just plant-based homunculi created by Krakoa. Because someone would out, wasn't this actually Krakoa's original idea that they was going to absorb the X-Men and make like little plant versions of them,
and then
or something?
I think someone even said there was an Excalibur story. I didn't read it, but I think Krakoa actually did make doubles of like Excalibur or something. Yeah.
So it's like, are we sure any of this is real? And obviously, once you say that out loud, suddenly it becomes this really obvious, like, oh, yeah,
because like the one
obviously.
article was at CBR or somebody was saying, it's like,
Yeah, it was CBR.
why are all these villains all of a sudden willing to play ball? Why is, certain characters acting out of, the way they weren't supposed to? So yeah, I'm just wondering, are the X-Men just like sleeping in suspended animation, waiting for the day Disney puts them in a movie so they can come out in their new Disneyfied form?
You want to hear a crazy theory? Moira MacTarget isn't Moira. She was the first person captured by Krakoa and was implanted with this idea that she was the uber mutant with, past and future knowledge and alternate timeline
past
knowledge.
Lives. Yeah. Okay. Oh, nice.
So that when she came to Xavier, I see everything you're saying. This is all true, and this is crazy. It's like, I've known you for years. How is this the case?
He could. Oh yeah. Because
And then she's like, Charles, we must go to Krakoa. Krakoa can help us. And then Charles gets captured, and then suddenly it's like, well, I guess everybody now.
Well, there's a scene where like they first meet, and I guess does Charles exist? In one of the versions, like they meet early on, and he reads her mind. But what if what if those false memories are like a virus? Once he reads her mind in the present, it fills him with all these fake memories.
Well, and again, it's assuming that, and again, see, that's the unreliable narrative. Because remember, this is the story we're getting from Moira's point of view. And in Moira's point of view, that's the story that's being told. And we don't know when the current iteration of X-Men came to this knowledge base.
So another bit of evidence to support your theory. It's like, so if they're like, oh yeah, everyone in the X-verse is like a fake clone right now. Oh, so you want to make a X book? Hey, we keep adding X books every week. Hey, you want to make a Hellions book? Hey, you want to make an X Factor book? Go ahead, kid. They're not real anyway. So just use whatever character you want or whatever team you want.
And within this concept, just the idea that the characters have said out as much in the books. Death is meaningless. If we fall today, we'll just come back tomorrow. Which immediately that should be a big red flag. Something's not right here. Everyone is way too cool with cloning all of a sudden. Like they're all Dr. Octavius.
And like you said the one day, I mean, I think Wolverine's died at least once. If you're cloning Wolverine, where are you getting all this adamantium from?
Yeah. Well, and that's an interesting question. Although I don't know exactly whether or not Krakoa can manufacture it. I don't know how Krakoa works.
Or you're growing a clone body around the adamantium skeleton or something.
Or maybe he's not actually adamantium.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe if Krakoa is making a double, it's something super hard, but it's not adamantium.
Exactly. Maybe he just has diamond bones. And that's going to be a thing. It's like,
that's the first thing that how they're going to prove they're fake. So all of a sudden, something's going to break Wolverine's claws, and they're going to be like, wait, what?
Yeah. And you know what it would?
I was going to say real Wolverine's claws or something.
Oh yeah. Well, that would be that. That would be that. That was the first X-Men, right? Where like Rogue, pretends to be Wolverine and he cuts off her claws.
Yeah.
Mystique. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of things that could happen in this, but I think it's and it's one of these things, much like the story I just told about, how Gwenpool should be the connective tissue of the great crossover of all books. Once it's out there, it's just there. Now we are aware that this is so obviously what's happening. Like, and now what's going to be interesting is because we have this thing with Kitty Pryde not being able to cross over. Can't use the Krakoa doorways. And the question immediately becomes, why? And obviously the phasing is likely a problem. And maybe she's like the one person that Krakoa can't duplicate because her powers are inherently unstable. So, Krakoa can't make a clone that can phase. And maybe that's why she has trouble coming through, because her body being unstable in this way, when it tries to go through the gateway, Krakoa just instinctively pushes her away. It can't feel that because it knows once she got through, if she had to spend too much time on the island, she'd start to realize what was going on, because she's the one that can't be brought into
I think one of the theories, though, too, is it's supposedly it's like, oh, she can't walk through because she's not a real mutant. So it's like, well, maybe she's not the type of mutant like everyone else. Maybe she's the only one who hasn't been replaced.
Okay, but not for nothing. Sinister's not a mutant. Wolverine is not a mutant. He's a proto-human.
Wolverine's a mutant. Yeah.
No, he's not.
He's a proto-human. His healing factor. His mutant power is his healing factor. Well, yeah. and the bone claws, but they've been covered.
Yeah, but no, that actually it was something I read. But yeah, he's technically classified as an offshoot of mutants and I believe they called him a proto-human. That he's from something that was like, it wasn't mutants, but although maybe it follows the same lines and rules, but that's also why the Howlets kind of breed to the same power set, whereas other mutants always have different power sets. So you usually don't inherit your parents' powers except rarely. Usually you just get some other kind of version of something else, whereas the Howlets always have healing factor, always have claws of some sort. And that's what makes the Howlets interesting and different, and why they're not really mutants, and why when they first came out, they said, well, this one's not really the same as these other ones. He's sort of a mutant, but he's not a mutant. And so, so Wolverine, and not for nothing, Mr. Sinister definitely isn't a mutant. And so he's walking through these doorways because, obviously, and now the question is Mr. Sinister a clone, or is he just in on it?
Ew.
Because he seems very relaxed for Mr. Sinister. And I gotta feel like he feels almost like, he almost feels like Loki in this, where it's like, I know what's going on and none of you do. And me and Krakoa,
but I think
we got to deal.
Either whether they're clones or not is like calming them somehow, because why would Apocalypse play ball with these people? I mean...
Oh, yeah. No, none of these people should be playing ball with any of them. Like, Charles and Magneto were always it was always a hard sell. But you're going to go Apocalypse and Mr. Sinister?
I mean, can you, even in the real world, you put that many normal people in this, I mean, people aren't going to be getting along. I mean, you're going to put all these.
But of course, they don't get along at times, but then they just come back after they kill each other. So it's an insane world. And what does it mean? I don't know. Could be anything, but let's talk about Bruce Wayne, because this is kind of a weird thing.
I mean, it's kind of. The whole thing is, is Batman Jewish, because Batwoman Kate Kane is Jewish. Her family is, so I guess her father, who is the brother of Martha Kane, Bruce's mother, is Jewish, and that's the thing, isn't it? Like, you're considered Jewish if your mother is.
Well, I mean, that's again, you ask 4 rabbis, you'll get 5 different answers, and the idea is he is of Jewish lineage, and as would be, basically he's Jewish enough that in Nazi Germany he'd go to a gas chamber for that.
But he's not practicing.
Though,
but he's not practicing.
What? Well, yeah. Well, now there were a lot of people who went to gas chambers.
Yeah.
That's that's the thing. It's like they don't. People of that ilk do not care if you practice. They care, if they can be evil towards you. Though again, I don't think it helps his story to have the billionaire industrialist also be part of, also be Jewish. It's like really doesn't help the conspiracy minded out there. But no, I just like this. Actually, here's what I'll say. I think it gives a lot more ideas into what kind of relationship Thomas and Martha had. Because if you think about it, and this is, I think, the real interesting thing about it, and this is what, because again, Bruce is young when his parents die. His parents are still so idolized by him at that point. But if this is true, then we get this basic idea that, Thomas made Martha give up her religion. Now, maybe she was never that into being a Jew, but clearly they were raised with history and tradition. If Jacob was raised with history and tradition, Martha certainly was.
I was gonna say the other way, do a story where it's like, where Bruce remembers, my mother started introducing me to Judaism, but it's like, once they killed, I lost like all faith in like any God.
Well, yeah, he's officially an atheist right now. I believe that is the canon, But to me, it's just interesting that throughout the whole time, and it's one of these things, whenever you introduce new data, and we were talking about this with Star Trek, once you introduce a new thing, it's like, but how do we now? We now have to reconcile this with everything we had. And if you reconcile it with everything we've had, you get this basic problem that, that he doesn't have this history in his life says that someone made sure that wasn't in his house.
Yeah, because because they introduced this with this version of Batwoman, who, it's only, she first appeared in 2006. So we haven't had this for 14 years maybe now.
Yeah. Now, what would be interesting is if you get a whole thing, and that's the thing is you could play it out however you want to, and it would be a nice thing to start to explore that maybe you find out that maybe Martha had more of, maybe it was bigger in her life, and maybe young Batman didn't really understand what was going on with it, But then again, I think that's a bit of a cop-out too. I think the best way to rectify this is just make Thomas Wayne a horrible human being. And I think we've been building towards this for a long time. I think we can all agree Thomas Wayne probably was a horrible human being. Those orphans don't sell themselves, and you don't get that rich not selling orphans. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know what the modern day reason would be, but remember, Batman was first created in 1939. Back then, I could see Thomas Wayne saying, "Oh no, we got to keep this quiet. Do you know what's happening in the world right now?"
Well, yeah, you could imagine that, and for what it's worth, Ben Grimm didn't come out as Jewish for 40 years, So you can see an understandableness to a certain aspect of it, but then on another level, you really have to approach it like, well, what else is going on in this story? And even if the character is created in the 30s, like I said, I don't think that when the character was created by whoever created him, we won't get into that debate today, whoever created him, I don't think the idea of putting any kind of religiosity to him beyond just, vague, popular, holiday theology, Santa Claus is real. We don't know about God in most comic book universes. And in that concept, I think, that's what it's written as. But in our modern era, when you start introducing these things and we have a sliding time, now we have to create a reason why this was lost. And I think when you open it up, I don't know if they are going to explore it, because I think it's one of these things where it's just sort of like, oh, hey, isn't this interesting? But at the same time, it is interesting that you're going to establish and not respond to it, And I think I think they're going to have to do a Martha Kane story.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have to go back and do Martha and Thomas.
I mean, just do a flashback issue where they show, she was into it, was Thomas, who knows? But yeah, once they get killed, Bruce is like swears off all religion, and yeah.
I wonder if this is going to come up in Pennyworth. They got a season 2 coming. Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting question. I'm not sure. I'm behind it. I'm not sure I necessarily even like the idea. And it's not because I don't think he shouldn't be Jewish. It's like I think it opens up too many cans of worms for the character to suggest that a part of his history.
Remember Batman Damn #1, people. I believe he was circumcised.
There you go. So hey, there you go, everyone.
Change is like anything pre the death of his parents, because whatever path they choose to take, whatever, if he was any religion by the time his parents are killed, it's going to make him atheist.
Yeah. What officially? How old was he when his parents were killed? Do we have any a solid number? Because if he was 13, he should have been bar mitzvah.
I know.
Just saying.
The numbers are popping into my head are between 8 and 12. So, yeah.
Oh, it was just before his bar mitzvah. So no wonder he left the faith. See, there you go.
I had no time to become a man. I had to become a man.
Sorry, it wasn't a book that made me a man. It was watching my parents die. Oh, man. That gets dark real fast. Okay. So that's our thoughts on Judaism in comic books. Anything else you want to talk about this week?
No, I think we hit.
I think we covered a lot here. If you would like to talk Judaism in comic books with Philip Perich, the foremost expert on the subject, how can they find you, Philip?
Well, good on the subject of Batman. On Judaism in comics, anyway, you can always email me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com. On Twitter, I am at nightwingpdp. Remember, follow the Capes and Lunatics, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Capes, Linktree, linktr.ee/Capes and Lunatics, voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-Capes. And support the sponsors, Hunt a Killer, Tweaked Audio, Pod Life the book, and use that Amazon link when you buy everything these days to help bring you shows like Super Connectivity, because it's all in the hands of Master Doom.
And you will find out I am right so much more often than I'm wrong.
I love this job. Yes.
And you know what, Philip? One thing we do know about what is it, Kate Kane?
Yes.
Batwoman, is that we know that she is certainly Jewish because she had a bat mitzvah. Bat mitzvah. Okay. If you would like to talk to me about that joke or anything else we talked about today, you can write to me that old-fashioned email way where Ma's and Pa's once did at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter as I live tweet all sorts of things, but mostly Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when it comes back someday. At Charlie Esser. That's CHARLIESSER. Look for the 2 E's there in the middle. For what? Thank you, Maz. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for stopping by and connecting with us once again. Please come on back next week and super connect with us. Good night.
Come back. We'll tell you when the comic books are coming back.
Someday.
Soon, hopefully.
Hopefully, prayerfully.
I don't know what day it is anymore. There's no comics. There's
nothing makes sense. At least I'm going to say at least you get to go out and drive. Ooh. Yeah, well, it's just, man, I miss it. Got no idea.